Hello and welcome to Tech Discussions. In this video, I'm going to be talking about software updates, in particular for your smartphone. What came to mind is with both Google announcing 7 years of updates with the Pixel and Samsung coming along and doing the same thing, and now OnePlus and other companies coming in and saying, you know what, we're going to be providing longer updates. Here's my thoughts. Well, it's great. I have some questions and some concerns. First question would be, how are they going to maintain these updates, as in hardware-wise? Because the longer they support it software, of course, then they have to have hardware along. They have to be able to repair those devices down the road. So 6 years from now, you say you're going to take your Pixel 8 and you need to get it repaired because the software still supports it, so the hardware should still support it. Are you going to be able to get a screen? Are you going to be able to get a battery replacement? Does that mean that they're going to have more incremental changes in some of those things so that the cost for these companies isn't as great, and then for the user it's not as expensive? Or is it going to not really matter? Is it going to be one of those instances where it's like, if your battery life is good and your display is good, then it's great, it's supported. But if your battery life and battery health is kind of crappy and you're having display issues, you're going to have to find some third-party one, or you're going to have to find somebody that maybe their battery life isn't that great and they're willing to give up the parts for the display and the other components. The other thing is, does that mean that hardware is going to slow down? Because we've seen where Apple supports devices for many years, but you don't get the new features. Or you have to have the Pro to get some of the new features, but after a year or two, you don't really get new features anymore. It's more security updates. It's some features, but you don't get the camera features. So with Google and Samsung announcing some of the AI stuff, and a lot of this being that it's in the cloud, is that going to be features that are going to be brought to older devices, and for how long? So realistically, it's more a question of, does that mean that not all the features are going to be there? You'll get the OS updates, so you'll be able to get to Android 20 or 21 or 22, but you won't really get the full set of features. And if that's the case, then realistically, what's the point? Because we all know that with Android now, you can get a lot of the security patches through the Play Store. You get camera updates through Samsung updating through the Galaxy Store. We get these minor upgrades through their co-parts, through their particular app store or the Play Store or whatever it is, just like you would get a normal app update. So what's going to change? And I'll be curious to see why it is that they're saying, hey, we can do this. Is it because more of those features are not really integrated into the OS? Is it because they are going to be doing fewer and fewer changes as far as hardware? Or is it really going to matter? And for me, I think it's great, because that means you could buy a 5-year-old Pixel, a Pixel 8 when the Pixel 13 is out, and still get 2, 3, 4 more years of updates. You could sell off your older devices and they should be able to maintain better value, because you know that they're still going to get more updates. People tend to replace their devices every few years. Is that going to change? Are we going to see that push to 5 or 6 years? I don't think so. I think because people would rather just buy a new device than try to go get the battery replaced. But hopefully with some of the changes, and we're seeing Google implement iFixit and stuff like that, that we'll see it made easier for people to get repairs done, and more places do that. And I think that on the other note of this, because we are seeing so many features being introduced in the cloud and being available across all companies, that the OS updates becoming less and less important in the aspect of things. It's not that they're not important, but because these companies are saying, hey, we can provide these for so long, and more of the features are going to be pushed out, maybe through a feature drop that's specific for a camera, or specific to bring the ability, like we've seen them already do, where they're bringing the ability to make your phone into a webcam, that maybe more of these features are going to be off device, And so then those will be able to be brought to the older devices because the device hardware doesn't need to be able to handle it. And then the new features, as far as if they're saying now we're going to make it on device, that's where we see where some of those features exist on older devices, but they're faster on the newer hardware. So I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be what is done on device, what is done in the cloud, and are you okay with it being done in the cloud and it might be a little bit slower, or you might have to wait for it to process, versus on device, like we're seeing with some of the video boost and some other features. Right now, these features are being introduced and a lot of it is handled in the cloud, and you can choose whether you want to allow that or not. And if you don't allow it, it might take a little bit longer. If you do allow cloud access, it's gonna take its time. But if you don't allow that cloud access, it just might not happen at all, or it might happen later, maybe when you connect to Wi-Fi, just like we see where you can choose to have your backups done on Wi-Fi. Let me know your thoughts down below. Of course, if you enjoy this type of conversation, feel free to subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching Tech Discussions. My name is Michael Pepper, and I'll see you in the next one.